Okay, so as people join, I am updating my map because I just saw a video that proved that Ukraine captured some stuff. So I'm updating. So yeah. How are you doing, Constantine?
I'm doing great, just had a nap and now ready to roll with you.
Good. Oh, okay, I'm going to load the stream in case anybody joins, which nobody has yet. I should probably tweet it out. Jeez. Where was I? I'm lost. Why is the tweet like that in my timeline? I'm confused. Oh, okay. I found it. It's weird because they like made it so it tells you how many people viewed a tweet instead of how many like responses it has, you know? And I just looked at the tweet, I was like, I don't think I had that many replies to that tweet. It was anyway. Okay, so people are here. So I was just updating my map because Ukraine has captured this area in Bakhmut.
So to throw out Russians, right?
Yes, they kicked the Russians out, which is great. So I have like multiple colors in Bakhmut right now. This area, Ukraine capture, or liberate, whatever word you want to use, on the 21st. They kicked the Russians out of this residential area of Bakhmut. And this other area that I just marked just north of it, they also kicked the Russians out. And these are both completely confirmed. This middle area, which I have as a different shade of blue, people are claiming that Ukraine kicked the Russians out of, but I haven't seen solid proof.
This is a drywall factory, or what is it?
Yes, it's a whole bunch of factories actually. There's a concrete factory, right? Isn't that what this is? Anyway, there's a lot of factories. It's just a whole bunches of factories here, and these other factories that are kind of parallel to it, a little bit to the east, people also are claiming that Ukraine has taken back, including this other structure that's just north of those buildings. So this northernmost building, in fact, I have like little icons I can turn on. One sec. So there's this building here, which is a ceramic factory. And then here's a furniture factory. The furniture factory, Russians took control over. And anyway, they took control over that a while ago. I can't remember when. It was like a week or two ago. And they also probably took control of the ceramic factory. I've never actually saw proof, but and they probably took this concrete drywall or whatever it is factory. Anyway, so in the past few days, Ukraine probably pushed out the Russians. I haven't seen solid proof of this in this drywall area. And they've probably also taken the ceramic and this furniture place. And just north of it, there is that I don't even know what this is. Whatever this is, this like rectangle square thing. I believe they also have kicked Russia out of that. I haven't seen proof of it. But so there's been a lot of counterattacks in Bakhmut, and that's pretty
This
cool.
is pretty big.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of good news, because all of these areas were lost in the rotation when the 93rd were leaving. So basically, if Ukraine actually took all these positions back, it basically puts them back where they were before the 93rd left. So all of the advances Russia made in the past 2 weeks would be negated. And that'd be pretty sweet. So, but I've only marked so far, these dark blue are totally confirmed, and this lighter blue is probably, I haven't seen total confirmation, but a lot of my sources are saying that they've taken, Ukraine has pushed Russia out of there already. And then even some of this yellow area, Ukraine has probably taken as well. So that's pretty cool.
So is there, like, between this residential area where is where there was a video of fighting recently posted by Butusov, and the area with the factory that you have in light blue, is there like a road between it? What is the type of the terrain, and how do you actually get from here to there?
Okay, so this Google Earth is going to be an older version of my map because I literally just updated it.
No problem.
But there's a significant hill. Let me show the other Google Earth where it magnifies. One sec. Where am I? Okay, so this has magnified terrain, so it's just exaggerated by 3 times. So there's a hill in this. So Russia was having to fight first, like down this little slope and then up this hill to get to this residential area. And the Ukrainians never thought that Russia would even attempt to attack this area, because Russia had been putting all of their resources in attacking this winery, this like champagne factory, and these other, this more built up industrial area. They're like pushing really hard to attack here, and then all of a sudden they flipped it and attacked this residential area, and it was a big surprise to Ukraine. And the Russians took that surprise to take this kind of triangle part of the residential area, and then they pushed in like another 1 to 2 blocks. So this kind of area here, I can draw. Maybe.
Yeah, that's where we've seen the video, right?
Yeah.
Of the fighting I think it was 46th Brigade, Air Assault Brigade, who pushed them out on Huskies, on British Warhound MRAPs.
That fighting was in this kind of black box, and you could see like artillery blowing up like all in this kind of area. So anyway, so Ukraine has pushed Russia out of here and probably pushed them out of all of these factories in the middle too.
So we have Misfit asking us a question. What do you think attribute to this? Why did it happen? How did they manage to pull it out?
Well, one big factor was Ukraine did a massive artillery strike on Russian logistics in this area. They took out multiple ammo warehouses. Some
Do,
of
do you know which warehouses was
I'm
struck?
not sure exactly where they were, but I know that I think one of them was like somewhere there. I'm not 100% sure, and the others were deeper.
Didn't see where you pointed.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah. So it was
I think
nearby, basically. It was not
think
some deep strikes.
I think one of them was like here somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where, but I think that was a kind of a minor artillery ammo dump. I think the rest were deeper, because I know that they struck like Kadivka, like they struck like here and here, like over and over again. And those were kind of feeding, and I think they took out one in Horlivka too. But these were kind of feeding to Bakhmut.
So can you measure the distance between Alchevsk and Ukrainian controlled territory, just to understand how far then and what kind of weapons, what kind of artillery was used to do this?
So the distance is around 58 kilometers.
That's to Bakhmut. So probably, the strikes, you don't get too close on the HIMARS or stuff like that. So probably the strikes were happening somewhere closer to Konstantinivka and Drushkivka, and the distance of the HIMARS, for example, allows it.
Yeah, and Ukraine hits these areas like all the time, so it's not like it's kind of standard procedure for them. They've been hitting these two cities a lot. So
would you say they were just successful? Hitting every day is one thing, but actually hitting something successful is totally different. Not every strike is successful. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not bowling.
They hit significant ammo dumps. Like I think one was on fire for like 30 hours. And there's actually kind of funny because this guy in a local chat, this just old drunk guy, he went online and he said that it was all a lie and there wasn't anything on fire, and this old lady like posted the video and said, "You're an idiot." I just thought it was really funny. But anyway, that was in Kadivka, I think. But because there's kind of, I'm not going to draw like the actual train route because I don't know what it is, but there's like a train that goes like that, and Russia uses that to bring in all the supplies, and I think they kind of like disembark somewhere in this area. There's like 3 or 4 train yards that they use, and then they truck it the rest of the way, I guess. So yeah. But anyway, Ukraine took out the main ammo, and then they just counterattacked, and they took a whole bunch of land with them. Like this is 3 square miles, and that's 2 square miles. So whatever that is, that's like what, 10 square kilometers or something. Sorry, I can't measure. Google doesn't allow you to measure in kilometers. Like it's literally impossible. So that's the Bakhmut area. I also updated my map in the Klishchiivka area, where this is actually based on the Wagner map at this point. So Wagner proved that they are in whatever this is. I don't know what that is. Yeah, but they proved that they are up on this kind of curve in the train track, and what was really interesting to me is that before I had the Russians as controlling most of Andriivka. That's what this is, by the way, this little town. This is Andriivka. I had them controlling most of it, but Wagner says that they absolutely do not control Andriivka. So I said, okay, and I changed my map. So I could probably draw Andriivka as Ukrainian, but then I would have the Ukrainian territory literally up against the Russian, and that just feels weird, so I made it yellow. So yeah, this right in this area of Klishchiivka, like here, this is the main fortification for Ukraine. So this is kind of what Wagner is trying to crack. And they have not been able to at all. They've totally failed at attacking this point. But it's about right there. But there's also like another one, like, oops. There's another one like here. And then there's a smaller defensive point like right there. And that's not like secret information. This is all like the Russians publish that stuff all the time. But so yeah, that's this is kind of the news about Bakhmut. I've also seen rumors that all of this territory in Soledar has been taken back by Ukraine. I haven't seen proof, so I've just left it there. In fact, there are rumors that Russians aren't in this factory, the Nov Kips or whatever it's called, Nov Kips. But I don't actually believe those rumors. But there are rumors that Russia is not even in Soledar anymore. But I need proof before I believe anything like that.
Good. So, what is just wondering, what is Russia using? Like, what is the tactic here? Are they doing mostly infantry attacks, or they switched to? They doing like armor attacks, tanks and BMPs as standard tactic, or they're using infantry? Because I heard a lot of reports that they're using infantry around Bakhmut.
Yeah, I think they're using primarily infantry. There was actually an interesting comment from Artie Green the other day. He's a Ukrainian artillery officer who is in this area. I don't know if you want to talk about Artie Green.
But what?
About Artie Green. Do you know who Artie Green is?
No.
Okay, he's a Ukrainian officer who's in Bakhmut, so he knows a lot about the artillery situation. He said that I found this interesting, but he said that Ukraine used their Excalibur to wipe out most of Russia's armor. So in the Bakhmut area, so they used Excalibur to pinpoint destroy armor as they were hiding in whatever positions they're in, and now that most of that armor is wiped out, that they don't really use armor anymore. That was his claim. I don't know if that's true, but it was interesting to hear him say that. So I don't know if you have a comment on his Excalibur claim, but yeah, they're using mostly infantry. It's almost entirely infantry, supported by artillery, and really the most important part is that they're supported by mortars. Wagner is really, really good at mortars. It's kind of their thing. They're much better at mortars than they are at really anything else. So their mortar teams are often very high priority targets to destroy. If you can spot a mortar team, you do anything you can to kill them because they're so incredibly valuable. And their mortar teams are deadly. They're incredibly accurate. They can, they have all the drones that you'd need. They have, all the thermal optic drones. They have just high skill. If you're good at a mortar, you can hit anything you want. So their mortars are helping push their attacks in a big part. And also they just attack so much in so many different places at the same time. It's just like a constant Zerg rush. So, and not only are they attack one Ukrainian position from multiple angles simultaneously, but they also attack many different places at the same time. So they're attacking a lot of different places in a lot of different angles all simultaneously. And they search for a weakness. And when they find a weakness, they will move all of their troops into that spot. So
what is your take? How many troops do you think Wagner has over there around Bakhmut?
I don't know how many they have in combat, and in Bakhmut, Wagner's not the only one fighting anymore. Now you have like just the Russian armies there too. Like you have VDV, you have common Russian infantry, you have all sorts of stuff there too. So how many Wagner have? I don't know how many are in combat. I've heard they have around 20 to 25,000 men total, and not all of them are fighting in Bakhmut. Like Wagner is fighting in Avdiivka too. Like people don't really talk about that, but Wagner is fighting in Avdiivka, and I've heard that they're also fighting. Like obviously they're fighting in like Bilohorivka, they're fighting in Yakovlivka, they're fighting in Solodar, they're fighting in Verkno-Kamyanska, they're fighting in lots of places. So when you say they have 20,000 men, they're spread out across lots of different places. So I don't know how many they have actively in combat, because for all I know, they could have 4,000 in combat and then like 15,000 in reserve. I don't know exactly how they're deploying their troops or whatever, but they probably have a few thousand.
So what are their losses? Are they taking any losses, or because I heard that their troops mostly consist of a lot of convicts over there.
Yeah.
And just wondering, what are the losses that they're taking? Do you have any idea?
Only rumors. There's Volya, who publish numbers. I don't know if I fully trust them, but the idea is that they've probably lost around 10,000 men fighting in Bakhmut. I don't know. Like they originally sent. Well, I'll say this: they originally sent 4,000 to Bakhmut, from what I understand, and of those 4,000, I think 2,000 of them died, and then they were reinforced with more. I think so they sent 4,000, and then like 2,000 of them died, and then I think they sent another 6,000, and I think another like 4,000 died. So, and also like Wagner, they don't really have living casualties. It's kind of like if you get hurt, you're dead. Like it's not a great situation. Regarding Opytne, because we have a question about Opytne. From what I understand, Russians are almost kicked out of Opytne. But that's kind of old information at this point. Like I think like if I click this, it'll tell you. Like I updated this on December 9th. So I'm not 100% sure what has happened since then. Because I do talk to people who are near Opytne pretty regularly, but they don't tell me like exactly what's going on. It's always kind of like vague. So I'm not totally sure if this is the line today, but I'm pretty sure this was the line when I made it. If I go to the satellite image, this factory south of Opytne is kind of a Russian kind of staging point for where they attack from. Oops. So I gotta unclick that so I don't ruin the map. Okay, so this factory south of Opytne is where they kind of move up into this factory and then attack Opytne from there. So I don't think Ukraine has moved into this factory. I haven't heard anything about that. And I have not heard anything about Russia moving really north of this factory. So from what I understand, this is roughly the front line. But it may have changed. My sources don't really get into this kind of granular detail. So I have to like piece it together from lots of different people. But so yeah.
Anywhere else? Are there any updates anywhere else except for Bakhmut on your map right now?
In Yakovlivka, there's still Ukraine still holds positions in Yakovlivka in the northern part of town. I've been directly told that my map is wrong and Russia has not captured this much of Yakovlivka. But I didn't change my map. So I've been directly told.
Yakovlivka, can you zoom out a bit?
Okay. It is northeast of Bakhmut. It's northeast of Soledar. It's actually a reasonably important town, because it is helping protect Soledar's flank, and it's also a buffer to Vesely and Rozdolivka, which are two pretty important towns. Vesely is important because it controls this area just north of Vesely, I believe, is high ground. Let me look at Google Earth. Like these two hills are important because they kind of control the valleys around them.
Can you circle around them and around those? Oh yeah, now I see.
There's this hill and this hill. So they control these valleys. So like, oops. I have so many apps open. Okay. There's kind of this valley, and then this is kind of a low ground, like there, and here. So these hills kind of control all these valleys, and there's a valley there too. But that's this lower valley is controlled by Yakovlivka. So Vesely is important for that reason. And Yakovlivka, oops. Yakovlivka is here. So I don't know if does that make sense? We'll get to the Rivne thing in a little bit. So first, they're still fighting in Yakovlivka. That's very important. They're still fighting in Bilohorivka, which is very important. There are rumors that this land that Russia took west of Boristove, there's rumors that Ukraine pushed them out of this, but I haven't seen confirmations of that. So that's all of my kind of updates of the Bakhmut area. I don't know. Do you want to move to another area? Do you have any, is there anything left to say about Bakhmut right now?
I wanted to. There is a lot of talk right now, and unfortunately, I do agree. I hear negative, prognosis and scenarios of attacks from Belarus, and I just wanted to see, the theoretical routes for their attack. Do you have any ideas about that?
Well, the rumors are that let me get my marker ready. The rumor,
and we've seen videos on the Russian convoys and trains with armor moving around.
Yeah, the rumors are Russia will attack on these two highways. Personally, I don't believe it. I really do not think this will happen, or at least not on the time frame they're talking about, because they're talking about the attack starting in 3 days, right? So I just can't see that. I can't see that happening, especially on this route, because what they want, or they want to get here to Lutsk and Rivne. So, but these towns, there's Sarny here and Koval here. So those are the routes that they want to attack. Well, that's what the theory, what their rumors are, that they want to attack these routes. So what are they called? This one is the M19 highway, and the other one is whatever highway, the PO5, whatever. So what do you know anything about this area of Ukraine? Because I figure this is a terrible place to attack, right? Because isn't this mostly swampy land? Because there's a lot of water here.
Yeah, if you, for example, if you turn to the terrain instead of topographical map, you will see that it's all forests and then marshy, swampy, green, how you say this, wetlands, or something like this. And I don't know, but there are some roads, so you can travel the roads if you have a lot of armor. But of course, I mean, there has been so much talk about this, so I think that Ukraine had some time to prepare. But of course, with the Ukraine does not have, unfortunately, unlimited resources, especially in armor, and most of it is used in Donbass. So I don't know. I do believe that Belarus will attack next 2 weeks. That's once again, it's not like I'm saying it's gonna happen 100%, because there is no one who knows if it's gonna happen 100%. Yeah. Even Lukashenko, he can change his mind. But once again, a lot of people in Ukrainian intelligence who I trust and listen to, they do state that it's the chances are really, really high of them attacking.
I think
because they need. Go ahead.
I think if they attack, they wouldn't attack like this. I just can't see them attacking. This seems like the dumbest way to attack, because all of this land is. Realize that all of these roads are destroyed. Ukraine destroyed these roads. These roads don't really exist anymore. Like they went through and they dug trenches and like filled all these area with minefields and like tank traps, and like this is not like a highway you could just drive on anymore. Like this highway is gone. So you're gonna have to cross through the swampy forest, and that just seems terrible. It seems like a terrible idea. And just look at this. Like, look how much forest you would have to go through. Like, this is like, how far is this? Let's see how far it is. Like 9-10 kilometers of forest. Like, you would get massacred. Think about trying to drive through this against Ukrainian light infantry, because you know this forest is defended. Like, you know that there's trenches and minefields in here. Like, it's it's suicide. We're like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna suffer huge casualties.
What do you think about attack from Chernihiv direction? From Belarus into Chernihiv.
Like, yeah, like this
north of Kiev, northeast of Kiev.
Yeah, I know where Chernihiv is, but I think this is more likely. I think
it's basically returning the same, try to do the same. Yeah. Well, personally, I don't understand. They failed at Chernihiv when they had so much equipment, so much gear, but right now they have less. They have even less motivation right now. What are they planning? But once again, there are reports that it's not clear what exactly they're gonna do. But I think that there can be it can be true as well. I mean, they can attack. They're crazy, and they need. Their idea is to bring the fighting as close to the border with Europe, with Poland, as they can, because the more danger over there, the less Europe feels that the less NATO countries feel secure about giving the weapons, because those the weapons themselves, like shipments, can be targeted and the weapon can be take over. So they really that one of the ideas why they're doing it.
Well, first, I think any attack in this box is more likely than an attack outside of the box. I think this is where Russia would attack, generally speaking.
So, given the videos that we've seen, how much do you think like tanks and PMPs or armor they have accumulated in Belarus that is ready to fight?
I don't know how much armor they have, but from what I understand, they have at maximum 10,000 men who can fight.
You're talking about Belarus, right?
Well, I don't think Belarus itself would attack. I think Russians would attack from Belarus.
So your estimate is they have around the size of like a division basically over there.
Yeah. I think they have at maximum 10,000 fighting men. So that's like people who can engage in combat. And then on top of that, they probably have like 10 to 30,000 people who can support them. So I don't think you can do anything with 10,000 men. Like, I don't think you can realistically make any ground anywhere with that. Like, anywhere in the north attacking with 10,000 men. I just can't see it. I really, really do not think Belarus will participate. I think almost like I would be shocked if the Belarusian army entered Ukraine. Like, because I think
Well, I hope you're right, but you know,
uh,
who knows? There are strong reports that it's gonna happen.
I don't think Lukashenko would be alive for very long if that happens, and I don't think the Belarusian army would fight. Really, a lot of them wouldn't. I think you'd see somewhere between 10 and 30% of the army would just, I don't know what word you'd use, rebel, drop their arms and flee. Like, I don't know what word you'd use, but I think somewhere between 10 and 30% of the army would not fight at all. And I think a lot of the Belarusian army would turn on Russia, because a lot of the army is made up of nationalists who believe in a Belarusian state. Like, they are not really pro-Russian. They're more pro, monarchy. I don't know what word to use for that, but they want to support living in their own kind of dictatorship, and they are in the army to support that. Whereas if you tried to make them, like, if you sat around trying to tell them to fight for Russia, I think they would just say, no, I'm not doing that. That's not what I'm here for.
Right. Someone is asking us if you can go through the Kinburn Spit, but I personally don't know if there is anything over there. Any changes?
Well,
That's Mykolaiv.
There is a very credible, although not totally confirmed, report that Ukraine suffered very, very serious casualties in Opytne the other day. They got hit by a very large artillery strike, and supposedly they've lost a number of Marines and a bunch of officers. So it's not totally confirmed, but a lot of in the know sort of sources are talking about basically like a big casualty event where Ukraine took a lot of casualties. So outside of that, I don't know any news in this area. Russia shelled basically this entire coast today. I believe they've also shelled this airstrip or whatever it is. I don't even know if that exists anymore, but I think there's military installations there still. They shoot S-300s in this general area all the time. I don't know. That's kind of all the news I have on Kinburn Spit. I know you don't think it's even relevant, right? Like you, because
there is an important. It is important because it's like an exit out of the sea. But once again, I don't. Just don't see this happening here. It's more like who controls it. But
yeah,
it's important to control. But neither side can get a chance to control it.
What matters is Kinburn, the Kinburn Peninsula, right? Not necessarily Kinburn Spit, because you need to take the peninsula. But the Spit doesn't matter so much. So you can
because if you take it, I mean, how are you gonna hold it? It's like you need supplies. You need much bigger ground just to keep it. Resupplying over there is really, really hard.
I mean, if Ukraine took Kinburn, like even half of Kinburn, because like Kinburn is basically from this kind of neck all the way here. I'll draw it. Like Kinburn is like this, Like that's all Kinburn, right? So even if Ukraine could take like this much of Kinburn, like that would be great. Like if they did that, that would be a big step because then you could.
Yeah, this allows for exit from Mykolaiv port. It's a large port into the Black Sea, and it's just I don't see this happening easily because mostly of even if you manage to take it, it's pretty hard to hold because how are you gonna resupply your troops? You only have what are your choices? Only small boats and helicopters. And it's pretty, really hard to do, and it's just having, for example, 2,000 troops over there with such a limited supply routes. It's quite dangerous because it's just risky. It's just too much risk of doing that. So I personally don't believe that it can happen, but who knows. And it all probably depends on the capabilities. If we would get some additional HIMARS, for example, then things may change, or additional Excalibur rounds, things may change as well. But I just don't see it happening right now.
And these two lines I marked are roughly kind of where Russia has lines of defense. So, yeah, this rear line of defense is kind of the important part. Because if Ukraine somehow took control of like this part, like up to here, they could begin attacking like the other side of the Dnieper River into Kherson, and that would be valuable, but it would be really difficult at this point. It's one viable way to cross the river, though. It just seems unlikely.
Yep.
How many forces does Ukraine have in the north? I'm not 100% sure. I think it's more than what Russia has, though. Like, if Russia...
in terms of number of troops, that's definitely true. But right now, the number of troops is important, but much more important how much equipment they have, how much artillery they have. That's the key at the moment, not the number of troops themselves. But Ukraine has enough troops to defend north. That's definitely true. Question is if there is enough gear to do that, artillery specifically, armor, and even small like things like javelins and stingers to suppress the Russian air assets.
There's brigades there too, like not just TDF. Like not Russia. Ukraine is sending like full-fledged combat brigades. I'll just put it that way. There's going to be people there who are battle tested.
Ocean 69 saying that's where Ukraine hides 150k Polish mercenaries.
Yeah. They even get to go home on the weekend.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have some other news. Yesterday, there was where the Ukraine said that they defended an attack in Pisky. I'm not like I've reached out to people I know in this area, and I haven't gotten any info about Pisky, but if that happened, this area would have to have been cleared out by Ukraine, because like this is kind of the dividing line of Pisky. Like that's kind of the dividing line. So, and what I find interesting isn't so much that Ukraine claims that they defended an attack on Pisky. What I found interesting is that Russians today said that they attacked from Pisky. I found that fascinating. So I really want to see some sort of evidence of Ukraine moving up in this area, but we have Russians and Ukrainians both saying that Russia's fighting in this kind of area, which is very interesting, especially fighting in Pisky after this amount of time of them bragging about having captured Pisky is kind of funny to me. Oops.
Sound like robot.
So, I don't know if did you hear anything about Pisky? Russia also tried to make a breakthrough in Vodiana, and that did not work. They tried to make a breakthrough in Novelsky, and that did not work. They tried to make a breakthrough in Krasnohorivka, and that did not work. And they tried to make a breakthrough in Marinka, and that also did not work.
So it did not work, but do they suffer casualties, or is just try and move back and everyone is safe?
Going from Marinka north, in Marinka, the key fighting is in this kind of central area of the city, where Ukraine is kind of barely holding on at this point, but Russia has really had a lot of trouble pushing them out of the middle. They've successfully kind of pushed them out of the south and pushed them out of the north, but they can't get them out of the middle. And it's really annoying, the Russians. I don't know how many casualties they're taking, but it's urban combat, like it's got to be a bunch, I imagine. In Krasnohorivka, it's probably negligible casualties. I wouldn't expect many there, like maybe 5. In Novelsky, I don't know how many casualties they're having there. I think at one point they were attacking with like 400 men, and then they like doubled it or tripled it, so now they have like 1,000 or so. So they are moving kind of south, like they're kind of pushing more this way. They're trying to like move along this ravine or whatever it is. So they're kind of pushing this way, but their main attack is straight head on into the town for some reason. They recently captured these 2 positions, which are I believe this one's called Oasis, and I can't remember what that one's called. But what's funny is that this one's called Oasis because it floods, and every time it rains, it can get up to a meter of water in that area, which is fun, especially when it's freezing cold out. But yeah, how many casualties they're taking, I don't know. In Bodiana, probably not that many. Probably like maybe 5, Total casualties on this whole area of the front, I wouldn't imagine as more than 100 a day. Something like that.
Even on Donetsk front,
Yeah.
Donetsk city around it.
Yeah, from Vodiana down to Marinka. Like all of it's probably 100 a day, maybe 200 on a really bad day. They're also attacking north of Avdiivka. They're attacking this little town here. It's called Vesely. And then there's another Krasnohorivka, just to confuse everybody. There's 2 Krasnohorivkas. And then there's Novobakhmutivka, which is a vital town. And then there's Alexandropil. Alexandropil is incredibly important because it is defending Novobakhmutivka. Russia really wants to break through this area and start moving northwest, but they can't because of Novobakhmutivka and also New York. These 2 towns are cities, whatever they are. They are anchoring this defensive line right now. And Novokalinove is pretty important too. So
we have Ocean asking about Kremenna. Can we go to Kremenna?
Kremenna, okay.
What was he talking about this? What was he saying? We have Ocean asking.
Oh, he asked about Chuck. I have no idea what Chuck said. I know that Ukraine is sending kind of recon type people southeast of Kremenna. They've been closing in on Dubrova. And Russia has been sending their, DRG recon type people south, and they've been trying to attack towards, not into, but towards Serebrenka and Kryhorivka. So they've been kind of moving south, trying to like disrupt down by the river.
In the van down by the river.
What's that?
In the van down by the river.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
when they say Dubrova is shelled, they don't mean literally the town. They just mean the area around the town. So it's like this kind of area is being shelled. You can draw. Like this area is being shelled.
So I know I have a couple of videos in Kremenna, Kremenna itself being shelled, the outskirts of Kremenna. I know that Ukraine controls almost all the forests around Kremenna. We've seen videos like that T-90M tank, for example. It's from this forest pretty close to the Kremenna. And yeah, the combat is there ongoing. Ukraine is pushing. I cannot say much more. Because it's like, well, first of all, not many people know where they are themselves, because if you're a forest, there are nothing that can tell you where exactly you are. You gotta really know the map, and not many people do. And so there is not information about that, but Ukraine controls a lot of that forest now. And there is a lot of pressure on Russians, and the Ukraine is slowly but steadily advancing there. I know that for 100% from people who are actually doing this. So, yeah.
You could, I could update the map live on air.
Huh?
See, the reason that I have my map here is because I was told that the Russian front line is about 2 kilometers south of Kremenna. But you're saying that Ukraine could be even closer than that, right?
So it's yeah, no, I would say it's a bit closer, but not, we're right now. Let's not try to understand like meter by meter.
Yeah.
It does not really matter if it's 2 or 3 kilometers away, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about forest, but this is I'm positive that Ukraine over there are making successes, and not without losses, because the war does not go without losses, unfortunately. But yeah, it keeps.
Taking Kremenna would be important, but you have to keep in mind that all of the areas behind Kremenna are heavily defended. So it would be a step in the right direction, but not necessarily like some breaking point. Like, I don't think taking Kremenna would mean Ukraine can roll through all of these defenses or anything like that. But it would be a good start. They might be able to attack north easier. Like, if Ukraine took Kremenna, then Zhitlivka would be in trouble, to say the least. In fact, I've heard from civilians who are in Kremenna for some reason. I don't know why they're still there. And they said that Russia's not even in Zhitlivka anymore. But I don't really trust civilians, but that's what they say. And whether Ukraine has taken Dniprova or not, I have not seen any proof of that. I haven't heard any. I don't know. Regarding enveloping Svatove, the Russians today made so multiple Russian sources today talking about Ukraine being in Pitkuchansk. I don't know how to say this. How do I say this correctly?
Pitkuchansk.
Pitkuchansk.
Pitkuchansk. Pitkuchansk.
Okay. Anyway, multiple Russian sources today said that Ukraine is in this town, which kind of already knew, but it's nice hearing it from the Russians complaining about it. But they basically said that Ukraine controls the town, which I'm not taking that as gospel, but that's what the multiple Russian sources have said. So they said that Russia had to attack the town yesterday and today, trying to get it back. But the reason this is important for Svatove, because obviously it's very, very close. Like, can measure. It's about 10 kilometers northwest. So that would be, pretty important first step.
But this is just so people understand. This is not a big town. It's just basically a village, right?
Yeah, it's not
like a really, really small one.
It is small in the sense that there are very few houses, but it's big in the sense that the town is like 2 kilometers long. In that sense, it's big, but there are not many houses. You should probably count them on 2 hands.
Call it Hutor. Hutor. We don't even call it a town, we call it Hutor.
But yeah, there's 10 houses. But anyway. but the town is long though, or whatever.
It's almost a kilometer, right?
It's like it's like 3 kilometers, so it's like 2 or 3 kilometers.
I'm just see how if you have someone in that town, how do you resupply him? Because there appear to be no really good routes.
It
No
is,
pavement roads.
yeah,
Only
that's
the ones that are controlled by Ukraine.
the issue is definitely resupply, and also that the town is on like the other side of a hill, so like it's all like this forested area is on a downward slope.
Good. So a problem might take that there aren't many people, just some reconnaissance entered or some special forces entered. There are probably no Russians there, and it's not really controlled by anyone. Probably it's just the elevated ground is taken around it, and Ukraine had troops in it because you first of all you will like sending there too many troops is just too risky on such a hill, especially when it can be direct observed by the Russians from there. So hopefully it's gonna be something good, but we'll see.
I mean, at worst, like the least we could say is that Ukraine exploited a weakness that they found. So that's always good.
Yeah, so it's still good news.
Regarding the Kupiansk ish area north of Kupiansk, there is heavy fighting in this kind of square of towns. Let me draw. This kind of there's a lot of fighting in this square. There's Avoshanka, there's Dovrichne, there's Kryankivka, and Horobivka. These 4 towns have a lot of fighting. I have heard Ukrainians. I've heard that they've attacked kind of this way, and the Russians are attacking. I'm not exactly sure how. Probably like that, something. I don't know, but still a lot of fighting in general. The Russians have been kind of covering this as a huge Russian attack to push all the Ukrainians out of this area, but the Ukrainian descriptions are more that there's just lots of general fighting, and so it's not nearly as one-sided from their perspective as the Russians are trying to make it out to be. And I can't remember the name of this town. It's too small. It's not even labeled anymore. But the Russians also attacked this town here, whatever this town's called. Can't remember. Masutivka. How much do the Russians use that rail line? Not at all. I imagine they can't possibly use that rail line at this point. I bet they would love to use it, but it's like surrounded by Ukrainians, so I don't think they can. Because if you this rail line is kind of cut. This is the rail line here. I don't think you're going to be running any trains through that.
The way train,
It'd be a very brave train, yeah.
Yeah, what a brave train operator.
Atacums is kind of a big HIMARS. Like I don't know.
So Atacums is just ammunition for HIMARS.
Yeah,
HIMARS is a system launcher
yeah,
basically, and Atacums is one of them. So if you compare the rounds instead of comparing the Atacums to HIMARS, you'd rather compare the ammunition that Ukraine has right now to other ammunition, to Atacums ammunition,
yeah.
and it's much better. It's
When people say HIMARS, I think we all mean that they mean like the Gimlers type missiles that they're using. I think we all know what they mean. But yeah, the Atacums is a much larger diameter rocket missile. I don't actually know. It's a missile, right? Anyway, doesn't really matter. It's much larger diameter. It's much longer range as a result, and it carries a bigger payload. And the payload can be a unitary warhead, which is basically just a big bomb, or it can be it can carry submunitions and drop cluster bombs.
So it is better. It's first of all, it carries to around 250 kilograms of explosives compared to one missile that shoots only has 50 or 90. I don't remember. I think 90. That Gimler's has. But at the same time, it has much larger distance area of operation, so it can travel, I think, 300 up to 300 miles, which basically makes the differences here is so that not a single ammunition depot inside Ukraine is going to be safe. Ukraine will be able to reach to absolutely any depot or any target inside Ukraine that it wants. So it's going to have a huge moral effect. It also will force Russians to basically reposition their logistics, which adds a lot of overhead. It adds a lot of problems. So it's just a new capability in addition to being simply a new, more powerful missile. It opens up new operations that Ukraine will be able to run. And one of the things it's great at is targeting precisely targeting Russian like congestions of their equipment, because right now they are they are allowed to keep their troops in the like to cluster them, and with Atacam to cluster them if they're deep enough in from the borderline or from the front line, and the Atacams will basically allow to destroy them and will force Russians to. It's going to be a problem for them generally. So it's not like, oh, it changed everything, but it's going to have a huge impact.
And by the way, I call Mars HIMARS just to piss people off. It's really funny. It's funny to me anyway. But here you can see the size difference between the missile rockets, whatever, that Ukraine currently has versus the Atacums. It's here you can see the diameter. It's Atacums is a lot bigger. Yeah, you can't overwhelm the air defense, but they are stupid hard to shoot down. It's because they turn. I mean, they don't fly in a straight line. It's going to be hard for Russia to shoot them down. they If you're talking about Saturn, this guy looks like a Saturn V.
Yeah, iDrive is asking, is the Russians still in Novoselivsk? Yeah, there is heavy fighting over there. Russians have suffered large losses 2 days ago there. But I'm not talking about battalion, I'm talking about platoon level losses. And yeah, they lost BMP-3 over there. 2 days ago, they lost around a platoon worth of people, which is a lot. If you lose a platoon, it's a lot. You know, battalion has only 9 platoons, for example, and those are people who were actually fighting. So it's a big loss for them. I actually have a video. If from there, it's probably gonna be 3 weeks old. But still, it can be interesting for people to see. I cannot unfortunately post absolutely new videos. I think you understand why. But this one is pretty fun, and I can share if you guys interested. Just drops yes in the chat.
If Ukraine just got heroes from Israel, it would be fantastic.
Yes. All right, so 3 people volunteer to want to see the video. So Andrew, I can share it with you. Just give me your home address and social security number.
You already have the information.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry, just give me a second. Just adding another credit card to your file. Check your signal. So, just a small disclaimer about the video. It's gonna have there is a logo. That logo I had because it was shared with me with the logo. And I was asked then to remove that logo, and of course I cannot remove the logo from already existing video, so I just put a black square on top of it. So it's gonna obscure some of things, but
Okay, I'm ready to go. Let's play.
just short description. There is just like how Russian forces are being shelled over the place. You know, they start with one number, they end up a bit smaller, and as they move, there are less and less of them as they go. Come on, man, it has fun music in it. Hill music. Yeah, Benny Hill music would be fun. So as you can see, like the artillery is basically, thanks to your drones, guys, the artillery is just trying to, you know, hunting them all around and making sure that each time they move, it's a bit less of them, and it helps save lives so that they don't attack our troops and stay put where they are.
Yeah, they are. They're not spaced very well, are they?
Yeah, it's a small video and nothing super interesting, but that's basically how. So you know how the drones can help Ukraine. It's just this surveillance. It helps a lot. It's non-lethal and just helping them to have this awareness of what is happening around. And yeah, you can sponsor new videos pretty easily.
Yeah.
That's basically it. I cannot share much more at the moment.
Okay. Well, thank you. The guy saying goal.
There is actually a football field right over next to where they are running. Yeah, it is, Dave. So when running close to each other, while it's that's true, there are some moments where you just have to, because first of all it's night. So if you don't, not everyone has night vision. It's not clear, what type of moon is at that moment. So sometimes you just have to stay close to your troops, to your buddies, not to be lost. Just keep this in mind. I mean, it's important to understand also. It's just reality. I'm not trying to say that all the Russians are so good. I'm just saying that it's the reality is not always easy to spread. Also, you have problems with the commands, traveling from one side of the platoon to another one. And if you have 30 people, for example, if you split up way too much, you will have rear guys thinking actually maybe that's the enemy on the guys that are in front, because they don't have the idea. You want your troops in one unit, in one platoon or squad. It's actually to have same vision as each one of them have same point of view as possible, so they can, for example, suppress the same target. But of course, it brings problems of, like you say, clustering up. So there is no. You have to find the golden ratio here, but it's done by the unions themselves, and like the unit itself has to feel, the commander has to feel what's going on and how to position the troops.
Okay.
I think we can wrap up unless you wanna.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if
You
there's
wanna
anything else. I can't. I think I went through everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah, that's that.
Yep. Thank you guys for joining. It was great stream, great seeing you here, and I just love Twitch as a streaming platform. You can easily you have a lot of tools like sharing screen, going around. We have a chat, and it's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah, it's great. And I hope it was a higher quality stream this time, because I upped all of the settings to make it look better. I hope it did. All right. So I guess that's the stream. All right. Bye everybody. Thank you for coming.
Thank you guys. Bye. Bye.